Okay, welcome everyone, and glad that you are here to join us today. My name is Heather Barron. I'm the Northwest Regional Coordinator of the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I will be your host for today's webinar, Edelweiss for Collection Development and Management. Our presenters are Deidre Dumpson, who is the Senior Retail Library Success Manager at Edelweiss, and David Ownby is Above the Tree Line's Data Analyst and Library Support Specialist. If you have questions during the webinar, again, feel free to put those in the chat, and David's going to be monitoring those and trying to answer those as we go along. After this webinar has been transcribed, it will be available on the State Library's archived webinars page. If you are watching an archived webinar right now, information on how to obtain your LEU is in the video's description in YouTube. For weekly updates on upcoming trainings and to learn more about what's happening in libraries all across our great state, please subscribe to the Indiana State Library's e-newsletter called the Wednesday Word, and check out our continuing education website for other professional development opportunities. Lots of good stuff there. So as we get started, I'll offer a reminder again to change the hosts and panelists in the chat to everyone if you want to use that. And now, Deidre, David, I will turn this over to you.
Thanks so much, Heather. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning and giving us a little bit of your time. We're really looking forward to talking a little bit about Edelweiss. So as Heather said, my name's Deidre. I'm joined by my colleague, David. David is here to really hang out and support in the chat and already has started sharing some helpful links. And we'll try to answer any questions that he possibly can in the chat, but also we'll pin things that might be helpful for us to demo later on in the session. So as Heather said, please share your questions, thoughts, feedback, or if you are an Edelweiss user, any tips aligned with what we're talking about today. And we'll try to leave some space at the end to demo and answer any questions that come up. So with that, I will start sharing my screen in a moment. And when I do, I will also go off camera just to make it easier and less distracting. So I'm going to share my screen, which is going to be the Edelweiss site itself. But before I get into that, I did want to share a little bit about what Edelweiss is for those who maybe don't even know or haven't interacted with the site before. So Edelweiss at its core is a digital catalog platform where publishers share their title metadata, which is then ingested into our site for users like librarians and booksellers to use for ordering and other benefits to their workflow. What's also available to you with Edelweiss, though, along with that title data, is seeing what is being buzzed about and how other industry professionals are engaging with these titles to use that for ordering, to use that to generate excitement amongst your patrons, and to even generate excitement amongst your staff. So that is what Edelweiss is and kind of the information that is vaguely available to you there. And as David said, it's so easy to get set up with a new account. So if you don't have an account, it's easy to just head over to the site, which is edelweiss.plus, and sign up there. But what I will also show you a little bit further on into this presentation is how a library administrator, manager, staff member could add another librarian to your organization in Edelweiss, so it's easier for you all to convene and collaborate together in one space. So today, I wanted to specifically talk about the unique ways that we've discovered through our conversations with other librarians like yourself, about the unique ways that Edelweiss has become a tool for impacting and lightening the load when it comes to collection, development, and management. So to lead off, I'm first going to talk about how you can use Edelweiss for the titles that you already have on order. So I am gonna share my screen now. And someone feel free to holler if I am not sharing the right screen or it's not showing. It looks like it is.
You're coming through for me, and I'm not seeing any problems in the chat, Deidre.
Thanks, David. Okay, perfect. So as I said, first, I want to jump into how you can use Edelweiss to manage the titles that you already have coming into your collection. And so the first, I guess, section or page that I want to talk about is actually this catalogs page. So if you jump over here, and then over from this sidebar menu, if you go over to collections, you can create a collection. And so a collection is a great space because what specifically for librarians, because we've heard that with changes in the industry, more libraries are ordering from a wider variety of vendors and maybe aren't ordering from one wholesaler directly, but maybe are using different publishers and wholesalers or distributors, so on and so forth. And so what's great about Edelweiss is that you can kind of pull all of those on order titles into a collection so that you can have a better or a high level view of what's coming in, and also at the same time get more information about those titles. So to create a collection, all you have to do, like I said, is jump over to your catalogs page. You're going to head over to my collections or collections in general. And then up here in this gray bar, there's a create collection button that you can click. And so you can name your collection. We'll say, let's say, for example, you're ordering by fiscal year. We can say fiscal year 23. Incoming permits. So I actually pulled a list of titles as an example of an order, and they are mostly romance. And so say, for example, you just want to see the romance that you have coming in. If you are in your ILS and you pull a list of ISBNs for the titles that you have on order, all you'll need to do is create a collection, name it, and then when you're ready, create and add titles, which will then bring you to this collection edit window and hit add titles. Just going to copy my ISBNs from my order. And all you have to do is paste that list of ISBNs, click add. A window will pop up letting you know those titles have been added. And then from in here, if you wanted to, you can adjust the order of these titles, but that is essentially it. So this is a quick way that you can pull and add the titles that you have on order, and also be able to see things like cover images, author, ISBN, BISAC, genre categories, so on and so forth. Content, so a summary of a specific title. But really on an individual level, where it really becomes useful is that you'll be able to see things, there we go, like honors. So this is a title that has a book list starred review. And so maybe you want to start grouping titles by industry honors so that maybe you can put together a display. But what is also cool is that you can also use this as a space to generate excitement amongst your staff and your patrons. And so if they aren't, for example, your patrons may not necessarily be using Edelweiss, or you don't want to even get into sharing things via Edelweiss with your patrons, you can use a collection to pull a PDF of a group of titles, whether that's all of the titles you have it coming in the next month, or titles that you have coming in the next quarter. And so from within a collection, if you select other actions, and you select all these titles, you'll see in this menu here, you can create a PDF. And so I went ahead and just pulled an example of that. So here is a PDF that you can pull, print, or either email out and share however you would like with your patrons so that they can get a better view of the titles that you have coming in, with you not having to do much work because it is automatically pulling the information that is provided by publishers in Edelweiss. Continuing collections, beyond sharing what's coming in with your, I'm gonna let's see. Nope. And then sometimes there's titles that are canceled, and of course, in this moment, that's when they want to show. So continuing collections, the next piece that I wanted to talk about is using collections as a space to engage your staff with the titles that you have coming into your collection. So if you are unsure, or if you have a team member that wants to have an Edelweiss account that is connected to your library, and you are a user admin for your library's account, and if you're unsure of that, you can always reach out to us. We can help you with that. But right here, if you click your initials and then head over to your profile and account, and then jump down to account users. This is where you can quickly add a new library staff member to your library's organization account in Edelweiss. All you have to do is enter their email address. So I'm going to say next, David. And then this is where you can save some privileges for them, save their role, and then you just save, and that staff member will get an email letting them know that they can go ahead and set up their account and they've been added to your organization. And so once that happens, you'll be able to easily jump back to your collections here. Make sure that your collections are shared with your colleagues. So again, just going back. Oh, yeah. There we go. So on your catalogs page, again, my collections, and you click this share button, you can make sure that a collection is shared with your colleagues. And so to go back into that collection again, along with your colleagues being able to see all the information that's available to you and hear what's coming in, information about those titles, and they can shelve those titles to maybe note that they're excited about it, or maybe they're aware that there are patrons who might be interested in these titles. You can share notes amongst your team. Historical vision. And those will show up right in the title display. You can tag titles. So this is a historical romance. So you can say romance if you know that you have a big romance display coming up and you want to collectively work on pulling titles in advance, especially new titles to add to those displays for folks. You can love a title. And importantly, not only for internally, but also for industry at large, you can review titles as well, which if you would like, you can make sure that those are shared with your colleagues. You can have friends in Edelweiss, but you can also make sure that those reviews are visible to the publisher, and important and exclusively to y'all. You can also nominate any titles for library reads that you've already read, whether you've read it in Edelweiss through digital review copies, or if you've read it through a physical review copy that you got in advance, or even if you just read the book, it doesn't matter if the book is already published, you can always jump in and review titles in Edelweiss. So, making sure I didn't miss anything. Yep. So that is what I wanted to touch on with collections. And so I'm just going to pause here before I jump into title discovery. I see Courtney's question about missing adding titles to a collection. So I'm just going to reshare that really quickly. So there's two ways that you can add, well, there's several ways that you can add titles to a collection, but right now I'm going to focus on just adding titles to a new collection. So if you create a collection from here by clicking create collection, this window will appear where you can enter a name for your collection. And then this is where you can create and add titles to a completely new collection, either by pasting the ISBNs that you pulled from your ILS, or you can, if you created the collection and you closed out of that screen, that isn't the only place that you can add titles. You can also, from within it, click this edit collection button here to the left of your screen. And right in here where you click titles, that's where you would open up that adding titles. And so you can add them one by one as you pull them, or you can pull an entire list and paste that list, whatever is most convenient for you. You can also always, if you know a specific title that isn't in a collection, but you want to add it to it, you can always search for a title. Because this is in my search history, I'm just going to do that. And then if you click this, add to collection, and then this is where you would be able to add an individual title to a collection, or a group of titles that you select to a collection that you already have existing. I know David shared some of the support docs for that, and we'll also follow up with Heather to make sure that she has the list of docs so that y'all have quick access to them and can navigate them. Also highly recommend, as David mentioned before, the librarian training page, because it has a guided walkthrough of how you can enter and access support documents in a way that is useful to maybe the specific tool you're looking at at that moment. So collections, for example, if you're really interested and intrigued by collections, you can look at it in a guided way so it doesn't feel too chaotic, hopefully. Great. So the next piece, unless I miss any other questions about collections that may have come up. Oh, yes, Jane. Great question, because that leads exactly where I wanted to head. So how can you search for, discover titles? And this could be titles that you already have in mind, or it could be titles that you want to see what you maybe miss, or you want to consider titles for purchasing. And so the next piece I wanted to talk about is discovering, and also attached to that, how you can order if you would like to, using Edelweiss, and how you can use all of that to manage your budget. So aside from just searching for titles individually, like I mentioned here, there's a number of ways that you can use Edelweiss to discover lists of titles, whether that's based on genre, that could be based on age range, that could be based on format, like it was brought up. And so the first thing that I wanted to dive into beyond the search bar is actually save filters. So save filters are a way for you to put together a list of attributes that you want to use to discover certain or specific titles. So for example, maybe you want to pad out or add to your romance section within your collection. There's a way that you can use either both and or front list and back list, so forthcoming titles and titles that have already been published that fall within a genre, and see if there are titles that maybe you don't have in your collection yet that you maybe want to consider to add, so on and so forth. The possibilities are kind of endless in many ways, and there are ways that you can leverage and use this specifically to your needs. So save filters, as I clicked without explaining, can be found at the top of your screen in this dark gray navigation bar here. If you click this funnel button or icon, it will take you to your save filters page. This is where you'll be able to view and edit the filters that you already have, but you'll also be able to create new filters. And so, clicking without explaining, right over here in this sidebar menu, underneath your already existing filters, you'll see this Add New Filter button. If you click that, you'll be taken to this filters edit window, where you'll be able to name the filter that you are trying to create. So I'm going to do this, and this is actually something specific that I'm going to have to remind myself as I'm doing it. So after you name your filter, under this select filters below, you'll see attributes. If you open this up, it'll show you a very long menu of the different attributes that you can select from within your filter. So the more attributes that you apply, the smaller the list of titles will be, which is helpful or may not be, depending on what you're trying to do. But if you know that you are really just trying to see a solid list of maybe the forthcoming titles for the next month that are coming out in large print or available in large print, you can do that from your attributes. Now, let me make sure, would that be under, yes. Oh no, I thought it would fall. I feel like maybe it falls under, oops.
I was keeping an
Okay,
eye on this as well, Deidre, because I was quite certain that there was large print somehow.
there definitely,
There we are. There we
got
are.
it.
Edition type instead of format. Okay.
So yay, seeing my brain work in action. So yeah, if you are looking for large print, the first thing you'll jump to is edition type, and then there's large type, large print. So you'll add that. If you are looking in a specific genre area, I would highly recommend looking by BISAC category. I know for some folks, it would probably be more beneficial to use Dewey, but unfortunately, Dewey codes are not applied as early in advance as BISAC codes are. And so if you're looking far out or trying to look for titles that haven't been published yet, we highly recommend using BISAC categories. And so if you were looking for large print in a specific genre category, you could apply a subject, but maybe you're not. And so we can instead jump to publication date. Ooh, so sorry. And so here there are a bunch of options. You could just look at all front lists that is a large type, or you can look at starting today, looking out a month, or you can set a specific date range. You can also look at backlist titles that are available in large print. So maybe you aren't necessarily looking for new books, but you want to grow your large print section. You can look at titles that are already out. And so once you feel good about the attributes that you've applied to that filter, you click save. And right here in your on your save filters page, if it is a filter that has a number of attributes, it will likely load right here on the save filters page. But if your filter is more wide reaching and has more than 8,000, I believe, titles that apply or fall under that specific filter, you will have to take that filter and apply it in other places, which I will show you how in a sec. But this is how you can look at a filter right here. This list is still rather sizable, and I was loading the wrong one.
And you will see an error message if your list would result more than 8,000 results. I'm sorry, it would come up across the top saying that the result set was too large and ask you to correct the filter.
Just giving it a second. And so now we are seeing the value in having a filter that is a little bit smaller because it takes a little bit longer to load, but that shouldn't stop you. If you want to see all or as many options that are available, then it just takes an extra second to pull all of that information. We're feeling it. Yay. Oh no, it's still loaded the filter. Oh my God. There we go. Great. So now we have the titles that are large print, that are backlist, meaning they've been published already. So within this list now, you can sort it by publication date, by author, title, whatever is most relevant to you. Reviews, that's if you have folks that might be helpful if your staff is reviewing. But along with adjusting the list and the order, you can also refine this even further outside of your filter using this refinements menu here. And so say, for example, these are backlists, so there's not going to be as many review copies, but if this was a front if this were a list of forthcoming titles, there would probably be a number of review copies available. So maybe you only want to look at the titles that have review copies up on the site right now. You can drill into those BISAC categories here if you'd like, rather than applying that to the filter itself. And then, honors. So if you want to look at what industry buzz there has been for any of these titles, you can select one or several of these honors. And so then once you have a filtered out list, so say, for example, I just want to look at large print. Yeah. Biographies. And so once you have this list, maybe you want to share it with your staff to tie this back to collections, and have folks take a look, maybe offer their input and insight on whether or not these are titles worth purchasing or acquiring for your collection. So you want to hit select all, and you'll see that it only highlighted the 413 titles that fall under biography, memoir. So once you have those selected, you can add, again, from this other actions menu, add to a collection, and you can say potential large print bio. Add. And then you have your new collection. And so you can either close out of this, or if you click here, it'll take you to your new collection. Oh, pop-ups. And here, this is where you can make sure that it is shared with your colleagues. And so once you do that, you can share the link to this collection, or you can just tell folks to jump into Edelweiss and look at collections that have been shared with them. And that's where they will see any of the collections that you put together, and you can say, go in there and please like leave some reviews for any of the titles that you read that you absolutely love. We'll make sure to consider those for any new titles we order in. However you want to use this, it's a great space to like engage your team and pull folks into conversations around purchasing, and acquiring new titles for your collection. Along with another place that you can use Save Filters is really anywhere in the site that you see a list of titles. So within collections, within general publisher catalogs, but also within the review copies page. So maybe you aren't someone who is necessarily purchasing titles for your collection, but there is a specific section that you manage, or that you usually put together or pull together recommendations or displays for. You can create a save filter that is relevant to you and your work. And you can apply that somewhere like the review copies page, so that you are only seeing the review copies that are relevant to what you want to be able to recommend to your patrons, and also recommend to your fellow colleagues. So that is Save Filters, discovering titles. Along with discovering titles, I do want to quickly show ordering. And so when you are jumping back over to our Save Filters page, probably should. So along with seeing this within your collection, you'll also see this in the Save Filters page. So if you share titles with your staff and they engage with it, right here in this bar, you'll see when folks leave notes, leave reviews, and you can jump straight to those titles within any list, catalog, or collection that you're looking at. And so say you want to use those and ensure that you order any staff picks, that's a great way for you to make sure that you order those titles in. But aside from that, if you feel like you have a good understanding or idea of which titles you know you want to order and you feel ready to put together an order, you can do that in Edelweiss. So you cannot place orders directly, I will say, I want to note, but it is a great place where you can build and pull orders so that you can then upload them into, for example, your iPage account, and submit your order there. So if you know that you want to put together an order, whether you are in a filter or even if you are in a catalog or collection, you'll see at the bottom of your screen this orange order bar. And if you do not see that, it usually means that you do not have buying privileges. And so we'll make sure and share a note, a document about that. But right where you look at your account information is where you can check and make sure that you have buying privileges. And once you do that, you'll see this orange orange order bar at the bottom of your screen. From within this bar, you can click this plus sign to create a new order, Or if you already have an order that you are working on, you can select it from this select order menu right here. So I have a demo fiscal year 23 Q3 Ingram order selected here. And so once you select an order, these bubbles will be available for you to add quantities. And when you are done adding quantities and you feel like you are good, or you put together your order and you want to review it, you'll be able to do that right over here in the orders page. And it's important to highlight that this is a great tool to use to see where you are with your budget and how much you are purchasing. So even if you are not pulling these orders or exporting them, it's a great place for you to kind of pull together those numbers for reporting, or just for oversight of your budget, your print budget and your order budget. And so once you're in your orders page, you'll be able to see the active orders you have here. And then if you want to look into an order, you can click it here. But this is also where you can create an order outside of within a specific catalog. So right in this orders page, you can create an order if you don't have one already. But we have an order here, so I'm going to open that up. And so here you can look through and review the titles that you have on order. Again, look and see what buzz, industry buzz there is, their honors. What's really awesome too is if you share this order with your entire team and have them look at it, they'll be able to see again what review copies are available, so they can reserve those in advance. And start taking a peek at some of those. But also, again, it's a great place to pull together staff picks and really get a staff-wide input on the titles you have coming in. But even so, it's a great place to pull together the titles that you already have. If you want to have a space where you work together to pull together displays. So displays don't only apply to new titles. I used to work at a bookstore, and we would always pull together displays of older titles, especially, you know, with movies coming out all the time, new shows coming out about old books. It's always great to have a space where you can kind of collaborate on those items and then pull those to take it over to your shelves and pull it together for that display. But also, again, like I had showed before, you can pull together like awesome PDFs that you can share with your patrons to get them excited for new books, old books, all of the above. So I know we only have 15 minutes left. And the last thing that I was going to talk about is how you can edit your homepage. But before I do that, I'll just pause and see if there are any questions that came up. Oh, I see. Man had a question about review copy. If you are a reviewer for Library Journal, I will say that Yeah, David shared the general route for requesting a DRC, but Library Journal also has been working closely with publishers to ensure that their reviewers have access to forthcoming titles. So I actually highly recommend, if you aren't already, making sure that you are a part of the Library Journal reviewers community, because you might find that you have different access to titles by being a part of that, if you aren't already. I don't think I missed any other questions. David, did I miss any questions or anything worth?
I think we're good right now. I was going
Good.
to include a link to how you can join a community. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have one specifically for Library Journal, but I'll share how you can find the community.
Yeah, we have a private community for the reviewers themselves, the people who write reviews for Library Journal. So that one's private, and you would have to get invited by Library Journal to be a part of it. So that's why I would just say reach out to them. All right. Well, the last thing that I wanted to touch on is when you log into Edelweiss, I kind of skipped over this purposely to leave it for the end. But this is your homepage, and it is completely customizable to your needs. So whether you are someone who is purchasing titles for your library's collection, or maybe you are someone who is just interested in, invested in, and responsible for readers advisory, you can customize your homepage to whatever you need it to be. So if you are someone who is trying to discover new titles, you might find value in having a review copies widget. And so right now you see I have a widget that is specifically downloadable review copies, meaning they're available right now. I don't need to request them. I also have a filter applied. So maybe you are only responsible for a specific category, like we had spoken about before. You can apply. Yeah, a save filter to a review copies widget by clicking this gear icon, click here to set. And so you can either look at your save filters, or there are a number of pre-issued or pre-developed genre save filters that are available to you here. So I had fiction all applied to mine, but you can adjust that however you'd like. We have widgets for tags. So if you are purchasing and you are trying to pull together information across your team, you may want to have your tags readily available, or maybe you're someone who's responsible for pulling titles for display. It may be helpful to have your current or most used tags readily available right here on your homepage. There's your save filters, your collections that you can quickly jump to from here. Notifications, so if a review copy has been shared with you directly by a publisher, you'd see that right here. But all of these can be added, moved around, removed, and added again. So if you click add widget, I'm just adding back this tags widget. Put that right there. And so, yeah, you can adjust this however you'd like. there are lots of options. So you can even start there with playing around with what you need your homepage to look like. But nothing's set in stone, and you can always change it. The next thing I want to mention here is that our support center is wonderful. And I know David's shared our librarian training page, but if you happen to lose that link, never fear, because there is a help button right here in your navigation bar that you can click, where you will be able to quickly access either the full database of our support documents, or you can jump over to our library and training support page, which is a guided walkthrough of how you can interact with and engage with Edelweiss if you are someone who's maybe never used it before, or maybe you just want to see if there are missed opportunities that you haven't taken advantage of yet. Along with that, our support team is absolutely wonderful. And if you ever have issues navigating the site or questions that you can't seem to find the answer to in our support documents, you can always reach out to us at support@abovethetreeline.com. I know David is going to share that in the chat. They will get back to you almost immediately because they are just wonderful like that. But also, they are also useful if you aren't sure where to even begin with the support docs, because they are great with pointing you to the place that you need to be. So we're here if you have questions, if you want to learn more, if you feel absolutely overwhelmed and don't know where to begin, reach out. There are a number of videos and other trainings we have available that we'd love to offer to you. Checking again to see if there are any questions. Does not click it. Okay. Perfect. Well, this was wonderful. I hope that it was useful to folks. And again, we're here if you have questions, but I thank you all again for giving us an hour of your time.
All right, Deidre, David, thank you guys so much for this really informative look at Edelweiss. Hopefully this helped out with some questions people had. Just again, thank you everybody for being here today. And a reminder, if you're watching an archived recording of this presentation, information on how to obtain your LEU is going to be in the video description in YouTube. And we will stop the recording here.